bigger word. That's like mayonnaise. I'm sure that's a bigger word. I know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the Basket NBA Player Props with Adam Scherer of EV Analytics. I'm Thomas Viola from Unabated, and we are excited to be back here with you again today. Adam, it's been an interesting end to the season here. Obviously, we have, in terms of trying to figure out which teams are going to be playing, which teams are going to be actually caring, if the Celtics care at all about anything right now, quite frankly. They sleepwalked through that game against the Knicks last night. It's obviously hard to figure out who's going to be playing, what you want to do as far as betting sides and totals and things like that. Does that translate into the player market as well? Do you have to take more into account with these wonky end of season games before we head to the playoffs here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it just adds another layer of, depending on what teams you're talking about, either volatility in that you don't know what they're going to do. From a playing time standpoint, teams that have absolutely nothing to play for, they can just kind of do whatever they want with their rotations. You can see them prioritize giving younger guys minutes and just running completely different rotations at pretty much any time. And then on the other hand, when you have teams that are competing for for seeding or for the play-in or to get out of the play-in or whatever it may be, you can kind of start treating those as closer to playoff rotations where, you're not worried about their best player playing 30 minutes for some random reason. Like, that's just not going to happen. So it does add an extra layer. I mean, this is the time of year, the only time of year really, where I even have any idea where some teams are in the standings, because generally from a DFS or betting standpoint, I don't really care, at least, from a player prop standpoint. So, knowing that certainly is important. It shapes, how confident you can be in rotations.
Yeah, and it's gonna be obviously very important because rotations are such a huge part of how you factor in these player projections. Like, it's all about minutes at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the difficult things to do, whenever, like, obviously everything we're doing is projections based, but not only is there naturally going to be volatility in how guys shoot or their assists or whatever, there is variation in minutes as well. So kind of having an idea of, is that increasing because their team sucks, or is it, getting smaller because their team really needs to win this game?
Yeah. And when you mention rotations getting smaller as well, that's going to be a factor into the playoffs too. And we'll be talking about that more next week when we're getting into playoff rotations. Like bench rotations are going to change, and there are guys that are not going to be getting any more play time this season.
Yeah, you're going to see guys just not play, and you're going to see guys that were playing that like 12, 13-minute roll off the bench now playing 6, and your starters that in the regular season were averaging 35 minutes are going to be averaging 40.
Yeah. It's almost like the NBA doesn't care as much about the regular season.
Right.
I don't know. Has anybody ever thought of that? Like, it doesn't seem like a popular opinion.
Yeah, it's a talking point I've never heard before, but
yeah. Marquise Delgado wants to know, how can I rewatch this later? Marquise, thanks for watching now, and you can check it out later on youtube.com/unabatedlive. Just look up Unabated Live on YouTube, and you'll be able to find us right there. But in the meantime, Adam, shall we jump into it with some props here? Because we've got a couple good ones for you here today. Welcome on in, everybody. Thanks for being with us. Don't forget to throw your prop questions into the chat. We will help answer them as well. But let's get us started off here. We've got DeAndre Ayton as our first man up on the board, and we are looking at his points plus rebounds market. What are you looking at here, Adam?
Yeah, so we're looking at the under on, I need to find what I had told you, but the under on points and rebounds for Ayton. Speaking of a team that has absolutely nothing to play for, not that you're projecting Ayton to play limited minutes here. That hasn't been the case lately. We have him projected for 35, but it is a back-to-back for Portland. It is a team with nothing to play for. You do at least sort of have that, the playing time kind of skews to where 35 is still our projection, but it's skewing probably a little bit more under if he's to miss that mark than over. We have him projected for about 34, between 34 and 34 and a half points plus rebounds here. 37 and a half is the line at -110. Just projects as a good spot. And again, this is a team where, DeAndre Ayton's a veteran player. They're probably going to play him normal minutes. That's what they've been doing. But if anything, maybe he loses a couple minutes here also.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case that we end up getting. And you're right. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him, because Portland really, doesn't. If anything, Portland is going to be interested in losing this game, right?
Yeah, if anything.
Yeah, it's that's just the reality here. So maybe playing their star players not quite going to be something that comes into the fold in this one. And plus, Portland's been so impossible to deal with all year long. Now, the next man that you've got up here on this one, you've got we're going to be looking at Tyler Hero, and we're going to be going into his points market here. What are you looking at with the young hero?
Yeah, so we're looking at the under 21.5 points for Hero, minus 105, I believe was the last line that I saw. It looks like it's maybe a little bit longer now on some books, but we have Hero projected 33 minutes. Certainly could play an extra minute or two depending on how this game's going, but pretty nice margin here. We have him at 19.6 points. Again, the line's at 21.5. So just projects as a pretty good bet here. You know, Miami does still have stuff to play for. They're kind of on that line where they certainly can't fall out of the play-in game, but they're a game behind the Sixers for the 7 seed. So probably playing a pretty normal rotation here, but Hero just projects for slightly under that 21.5 number.
Yeah, and you're seeing it. We've got a nice edge here at MGM under 21.5 at minus 105. We're seeing a 25% edge, which is, of course, massive. But again, the edges when we're dealing with projections, even ones as great as the ones that we have here from Adam, the computer doesn't recognize that they're projection, and it's just showing you, okay, well, here's the math behind it. We believe that this should actually be priced at minus 178, and then it calculates from there. But hey, that is a great number to be having. And we're looking at a lot of unders. Is that something that we're more so looking at all week just because of the nature of these last 2 games that we've got here? Or is that something that we've been looking at all season?
It's pretty much a season-long thing. I think it's kind of just like a running joke amongst people, you know, in the industry and on Twitter and stuff, how, you know, nobody bets unders except for the people that are like actually trying to make money doing this.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a function of, you know, under or overs are more fun to bet. And that's where you're just generally going to get more money. So at times you do just, not that it's like a massive swing or anything. It's not like you can just go blindly bet every under and make money, but a lot of times you're just going to kind of see things skewed to where you're getting a more favorable price on the under. It's not as fun to bet. It's not as fun to sweat, but especially on pretty good players too. You'll see it. I know Derek Carty has talked about it in the past in other sports where a lot of times you're going to find yourself the overs that you're betting are on players that aren't very good. And then you're betting unders on good players. It's not fun, but generally that's just going to be where there's more money.
Yeah, that's just the reality of it. At the end of the day, it's easier to bet on things not to happen than it is to bet on things to happen. And that is absolutely how you bet how you bet and make money in this league. And that's why the saying is, you know, sharps bet unders and the public likes to bet overs. The public likes seeing things happen. Now, Rich Norton here is asking, can we pivot to under 39.5 PRA if not available? I'm guessing he's going back to the DeAndre Ayton market there. So let's just, for kicks, load up Ayton here. What do you have as an assist projected at?
Yeah, we have 1.91 assists.
All right, so we fire that up into the simulator here. I'm going to guess that if you have the edge, yeah, you can pivot. If you can't get the points plus rebounds and assists, which is a market I really like betting in. You got 39.5 minus 109 at Caesars right now, and that looks like it's your best option at the moment. But you could totally play that. All right. Next up on the list here. So we've talked about Tyler Hero, and we have one more guy to talk about. So again, please throw your opinions and your questions in. But CJ McCollum is going to be the last guy on the list here. And shocker, we're going to be looking at his under on the points total as well, aren't we?
Yeah, didn't come through for me yesterday, but this is a team where you're expecting big minutes out of McCollum. He played 40 yesterday. The Pels certainly have stuff to play for, but we have a 37.5 minute projection on him. Like it's whenever you start projecting 37.5, 38 minutes, realistically, it's difficult to go higher than that on guys. You know, yeah, he could play 40 again, but there's just things that happen in the course of a game where that's generally outside of people that play for Tom Thibodeau. That's like as high as you can get on, you know, in regular season games. 24.5 is the line. Was seeing minus 105. Looks like it's moved a little bit now to like minus 110, 115, depending on where you're looking. We have him projected for 22.77. So there is a little bit of a gap there as well. If, you wanted to say, well, I think he plays 38.5 minutes instead of 37.5, like there's still a pretty nice margin there. It just projects as a good under here. Ingram's still not expected to play tonight. He's expected to be back on Sunday, but he's been out for a while. That shouldn't change anything. The only thing that I guess from an injury report standpoint could be concerning here is that it is a back-to-back, and Zion did get banged up yesterday.
Yeah.
So there's some chance, but I mean, the game matters. Zion came back. I assume he's playing, but there is, that little bit of added risk where if we get that injury report and Zion's not playing, then this bet looks terrible.
Yeah. And so be sure to check that. Of course, remember, check out NBA Underdog NBA. Like, they're going to have up-to-date injury information for you all the time. Keep an eye on that one, because you mentioned this game matters. It obviously matters to the Warriors. They, how did they end up doing last night? I didn't pay attention to the end of that one, but I know that they were trying to beat Portland with absolutely no one except Steph Curry.
Yeah, they won by 8.
They won by 8. Okay, so they did manage to get it done. Damn, I knew I should have in-gamed them when they were like tied at the end of the third quarter, but hey, that's how it goes. This game matters for the Pelicans too.
Yeah, 6 seed, 1 game up on the Suns.
Yeah. So they've very much got something to play for. This isn't going to be one of those games where you're worried. If anything, do you think we might see that the rotation gets a little bit shorter here, or do you think 38 minutes is really the massive ceiling here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the ceiling at all. I think it's like the correct way to project him. But we saw them shorten the rotation yesterday, where McCollum did play 40. Trey Murphy played 45. Najee Marshall played 3.5 minutes off the bench. Like they essentially yesterday ran a 7-man rotation with Dyson Daniels and Jose Alvarado as your backups, and then the 5 starters playing more minutes. So yeah, like they probably are going to play a condensed rotation here. That's what I was getting at, where the 37.5 minute projection from McCollum certainly could be a little bit light, but it's still massive minutes. And like if this were earlier in the season, you're probably projecting like 35. So clearly projecting him for more minutes because of the circumstances here.
Yeah. So we will have to watch out for that. And you're right. You're already accounting for what that minute change is going to become here. And again, keep an eye on Zion Williamson as well. He should play, but that's something that you're definitely going to be want to be keeping in touch with before this game tips off, just to make sure, because that could drastically change things. Rich had his question asked and answered in the chat about DeAndre Ayton, points, rebounds, assists. Let's throw some other questions in there. Marquise Delgado has a question for us. Do we trust Jonas Valanciunas minutes again against Warriors small ball?
I never trust JaVale's minutes because they've just been yanking them around so much. Yeah, I mean, I don't like, if he's playing well, I think they'll give him the minutes. If not, they certainly can go small. You can get more minutes with Zion at the 5, but no, to be short, I don't trust JaVale's minutes.
So be careful on that one, Marquise. And yeah, throw your questions in here. Otherwise, we'll get wrapped up in a minute here. But if anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. We'll answer them. Talk about any props that you want to talk about here. But if you want to check out Adam's, if people want to check out your projections, where can they head?
The EV Analytics website.
Yes. Yes, they can. So if you just click on the link in the description of this video, you'll be able to get his projections for the rest of this, the very short rest of this regular season and the postseason, as well as we shape up into the NBA postseason here. We will, of course, be back here next Friday. There'll be games next Friday, right? Yeah, we're fine on the schedule.
What'd you say?
There are games next Friday. We're fine on the schedule.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, I'll double check that and make sure. But yeah, we should have playoff games next Friday. I'd be stunned if we don't. Right?
Looks like no.
No, we do not.
I don't know. So I'm looking at the schedule on ESPN, and it just says no game scheduled, but it says that for like the entire week. So
yeah,
I don't know.
All right, we'll have games on Friday. We'll be back here next Friday. Don't worry about it. But DJ Cole wants to know Halliburton points under 19.5. Let's take a look in the simulator here. What do you have on Halliburton?
So we have that's not it. 19.13 projection.
Okay, I'm guessing we're not going to see much here that we like, but just
like a small edge.
Yeah, very small edge. Not something that I would go out and try and bet on here on Halliburton, over or under. Marquis says, anywhere I can find Nets reserve lines yet. Can't find them anywhere yet. Sites seem vets reserves lines. Can't find them anywhere yet. Sites seem to be hip on the vets sitting. Any idea where you could find reserves?
I like now if they're not listed, then no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Marquise. We have nothing to help you out with that. John Charles says the play-in tourney looks like it's going to be the 16th through the 19th. So yeah, we should have a couple games on the schedule on the 19th next week. So we will be fine here. Thank you so much, John, for that. Amari Nwogu says any parlays. I know it's a fool's bet, but I mean the thing with the only thing I'm going to say with parlays is this: everybody says yes, they're a sucker's bet, and they are, but if you're trying to get down a good deal of action on props and you're trying to not get limited in your accounts, it's not a terrible idea to take some parlays sometimes. You can parlay. I don't recommend same game parlays because you're probably not baking the correlation in correctly. But if you want to take a couple different guys and you want to tie them together somehow, like as long as you're making plus EV bets, the theory goes you're going to have more variance. You're going to have more losses, fewer wins. But when you do win, you're going to win more. As long as there's still plus EV, you still should have an edge there, and it can help for the longevity of your account. That being said, I'm not about to go out and say, hey, parlay these 10 guys together. Like, just don't do it. For the most part, stay away and bet them as single bets, buddy.
Yeah, that's how I see it as well. Like parlays are obviously more fun if you're taking plus EV bets and parlaying them together. Like
you are compounding your edge, as Howdy points out.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it is not the worst thing in the world. DJ Cole says any good any good sites to project minutes. I mean, you've got the minutes in your projections, right?
Yeah. Like I mean, anywhere that's offering projections is projecting minutes, but yeah, EV Analytics.
Yeah, so just head to EV Analytics, DJ, and you'll be all good there. And there we go. Thanks, guys, for throwing some stuff in the chat here because we definitely do appreciate it. We do appreciate y'all checking in on us here. And we've had a great time with you today. And we'll be back for the playoffs. We'll be back for the postseason. We'll be talking some more prop bets then. Speak now, forever hold your peace on your final minutes, but on your final questions here. But other than that, if you want to take a tour of the Unabated website, see how you can use Adam's projections with our tools so that you can get these fancy numbers here and see what we have to show you as far as finding edges, check out unabated.com. Check out the link in the description below to set up a one-on-one demo for the tools. It'll most likely be me sitting down with you and walking you through how everything we have to offer at Unabated works. And a nice little announcement here. It is Masters time right now. We have PGA. We have PGA lines out now for our new PGA tool set that is very much just coming into the fold. We will be updating this and adding plenty more new features over the course of the summer here. But thank you all so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time. We love being here. Marquise's favorite prop play of the day. I mean, I suppose out of the three of those, I like the DeAndre Ayton one, but those are our three bets of the day, the ones that we've gone over here for you, Marquise. That is what I would recommend. And in the meantime, Adam, it's been a pleasure as always. I'll see you again next weekend. Best of luck, everybody. Let's cash some tickets.